Cash flow management is the key to successfully running a business, yet many small business owners only focus on cash in and cash out. That doesn't tell the full story, making it more difficult to manage your cash flow. If you aren't careful, you may be one unexpected bill away from disaster. I'm Donna Fuscaldo, a senior finance writer at business.com. Today, we're speaking with Ben Richmond of Xero, the accounting software provider, about how you can better manage your cash flow. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Donna. Super excited to be here.
Great. So as you know, and as we've discussed in the past, a lot of small businesses focus cash in, cash out. That's all they care about. Who has time to do anything else? What's wrong with doing that?
Yeah, I mean, first up, it is the most simple way to track your business. So it's understandable why so many small businesses choose that, right? I can see the money in my bank account. I can see it coming in. Have I got enough? I can see if I got enough cash on hand to pay the wages that the payroll that's coming up due. The risk with it is it's only half the story. Now, if you think about your business, you generally have people you owe money to, accounts payable. You have people that owe you money, accounts payable. You also, if you're a products-based business, might have a lot of goods that you've bought. So for instance, the bank account could look great because you've had a whole lot of people that owe you money pay you. You've done really good at collecting your receivables, but you've got a lot of payables coming up. And actually, in about a week or two, you're going to run out of money and need cash flow financing to get you through. So it is risky to run the business on half the story when you think about how important a cash flow is. And it's not, I mean, it's just a little bit of a, stepping out of your comfort zone, not too much more extra work to start getting that full picture. And I highly encourage small businesses to do it because that's going to help you if things get better, if growth opportunities come up, if there's a really, if in 60 days, there is a cash flow event coming where you're going to run out of cash flow, then you can find out earlier if you're running that full picture. And that means you can be on the front foot, be proactive and going, right, I need to get some more cash flow in. What can I do? Can I sell some stock, discount some stock? Can I chase my receivables harder? Or do I work with an advisor or something and look to get some extra funds in or a temporary overdraft so you're ready? And it's much easier to do that if you're doing that proactively. Most businesses, again, will get that sort of hit in the face moment when the cash flow terror comes. And then it's like, right, I need to get a loan. And as we know, all those processes take so much time and the bank doesn't just have the checkbook ready to, give you some cash. So being proactive is going to help you avoid that happening. So stay on the front foot.
The pandemic, does that make this even more important? And if it's such an uncertain time and we're heading into the winter, there's more concerns. How do you, as a small business, approach that or think about managing more than the cash coming in and out?
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic has made it more important than ever. Cash flow for a small business is queen or king, is whichever you choose. But if you think about what the pandemic's done, it's created the environment is changing more often than ever. We've had, all of a sudden at the start of summer, it felt like things are rapidly opening up again, and that created an enormous amount of growth opportunities. If you think about what's required for growth, it's funding. Right. So sometimes if I'm going to take advantage of this growth opportunity in front of me, I need to get funding so I can invest, get more staff on, get more products and services in so I can take advantage of the surging demand. But I need to make sure I do that in a way where I don't hit an issue with my cash flow, right? I can't afford to pay for all these extra staff because I've invested way ahead of the curve, but not put enough cash flow in before the demand comes. But also, as we know with the pandemic, it's also creating some challenges, depending on where you are. There are other sort of measures coming back into place that might drop demand again. And you can end up in a position where you have a lot of stock or overhired, being optimistic. So what I say to businesses is once you start running that other part of the story, looking at who owes you money, who you owe money to, looking at where your cash flow position is going to be in 30, 60 or 90 days, then you can start to run scenarios because in an uncertain time, and remember, this is a big piece of our advice for small businesses going into the first part of the pandemic was, there's the doomsday projections, there's the super optimistic projections, depending on who you listen to. The good news is you can start to do scenarios. Okay, well, what if it went that way? What if it went that way? And what would my cash flow look under all of those scenarios? And what actions would I take and be on the front foot? And do I have enough cash flow under 1, 2, 3, or my best or my worst or likely case scenario? So again, you sort of, as the situations ever evolve, you think about doing some scenario-based cash flow planning. Now, again, this can seem really like, well, I'm really busy running my small business. When am I going to get the time to do all this stuff? Well, the good news is there's lots of people out there that can help. Look at you've got bookkeepers, you've got a lot of CPAs and advisors that have learned a lot through the pandemic as well, and they're spending more time alongside small businesses. It's almost like part of the team, helping them build these models, helping them review these scenarios and make decisions. So the pandemic has just made it more important than ever to be on top of your cash flow.
So at Xero, I'm sure you guys see a lot of mistakes, a lot of accounting errors. When it comes to cash flow, what are some of the main or top mistakes small business owners tend to make when managing it, or maybe not managing it?
Yeah, so I think the first mistake is taking full advantage of the software. So most software out there, including Xero, put a lot of investment into making sure that you can automate a lot of these processes, right? So you can track who owes you money, track who you owe money, see when it's due, and even have the software doing things like automatically chasing people. Hey, you're 10 days past the due date and you haven't paid us. So first thing I'd say is make sure you're taking full advantage of the power that sits in the software. There's a lot of automation designed to help you manage cash flow better. Make sure you're utilizing those features. Secondly, make it easier for your customers to pay you. Technology has come a long way. So if it's an old paper invoice that requires the customers to send a check, you've made it really hard for that client to pay you. So think about using things like payment gateways. We partner with Stripe, with Square, with PayPal, so that you can put payment gateways on invoices and get paid faster. So make it easy for your customers to pay you. And then the third thing is, I think when it comes to managing them, is actually there's the doing the work, there's the entering the bills or the bills coming auto-magically and making it easy for your customers. Then there's the actual third piece, which is looking at what does that actually mean? So am I going to be in trouble? Is there an aged debtor, someone who owes me money that's getting too old, and do I need to jump on that? So being proactive in how you chase your debtors, but also looking at what that information means. So we put a feature in the software called the cash flow, the business snapshot, and our Analytics Plus feature, which helps businesses look 30, 60, 90 days out to see where their cash flow is actually going to land, so they can start making those conversations around, do I need to go and get money now? The last thing I'd say is really think about, work hard and invest in time in managing the best trade terms with the people you're going to spend money with. So you want to pay people as late as possible, but obviously have a really good dialogue with them. And we see a lot of people don't do that. Or they'll go, I can't afford to pay Donna this week, so I just won't pay her. Now, Donna's going to get really mad and she's probably going to chase you. But if you talk to Donna as a long-term, client of Donna's and say, hey, it's a rough month for cash flow, you okay if we pay you 2 weeks? She's probably going to work with you. So open communication with your payables, negotiate the best payables terms you can. And on the flip side, with the people that are going to spend with you, really think about, obviously you're going to extend more favorable terms to your longer and more loyal clients. But with newer clients, if they seem a bit riskier, if you don't have history, maybe think about tightening the terms of trade with them. Maybe it is cash up front. Maybe it is there's a deposit up front, or shorter timelines for when they owe you. So really managing those two things actively are going to help you, keep on top of your cash flow. And again, many businesses are swamped trying to do their business, so they just skip these steps.
So if you're doing this and you're managing your cash flow and you do see a red flag or warning sign, what are your options? Is it time to look for financing, to renegotiate with vendors? What should you be doing if you see something?
Yes, there's a couple of things. You're overall running your cash flow really well now. So, right, you can see 30 days out, I've got enough cash or not. And as you start to see those red flags, let's say it's someone who owes you money, get on the phone, chase them hard, chase them actively, be empathetic. They may be a loyal client that, is just going through a tough time. And so, but again, it's the squeaky wheel that gets the oil. So, if you're ringing them, making sure it's important that you're top of mind to them, and negotiate, terms of payment with them so they can start getting you paid, even if it's through drip feed, because there are other people they owe money to that aren't being active are going to be the ones that get left behind. So making sure you're really on top of that. So there are things you can do, making sure you're working your other receivables hard to get money in the door. But if it does get down to a point where you are, the cash flow red flags there, I don't have enough cash in the next 30 days, that is when, I've worked your receivables hard, move to your payables, try and reach out to your loyal suppliers that you've bought from and ask for more favorable terms as you get through this hump. And if you've gone through those options and it's still not looking good, then you do need to look at financing options. And there's lots of financing options out there. We've seen the programs from the SBA to the programs that the banks run, depending, family lending is also an option. Although I say to people, if you ever go and do lending with family, make sure you keep it as commercial as possible, to make sure that everyone feels like they're getting a win-win out of it. Try not to do that on the shake of a hand, or you might make Thanksgiving an awkward Thanksgiving this year. But all those options are out there. But again, when you think about who's going to lend to you, particularly if it's the bank, it's the businesses that really, if you think about they're assessing the risk of you as a small business to extend you funds to get you through a tough time. And so things that are going to reduce, the perception of risk with you as a small business are that you are on top of your data, are that you are actively managing your payables and receivable, are that you have a great grip on your cash flow and where that it's going to go. So you have a plan. And so you're actually really not just doing the business with customers, you're running the business. And then the other thing which really helps as well is you're working with advisors. So if there's advisors out there that are helping you work through that, that's going to give the bank confidence that, you've got a strong team around you to get through it. So make sure, don't shy away from bringing someone in to help that's an expert. And there's lots of accountants and bookkeepers out there that love doing this type of work.
Great. So finally, just paint a picture for everyone. If you're not managing cash flow, what's going to happen to your business?
Yeah. So let's use a story, right? So let's say we're not managing cash flow. I mean, I always start off by saying, if you think about your business, think about it as a car. You can have the most beautiful car sitting in the garage. Cash flow is the fuel to that car. So the idea of owning a Ferrari but not having any access to gas sounds pretty boring, right? It's an expensive paperweight in your garage. And so cash flow is the fuel that runs small business. So, I mean, it all depends. If and I think this is where a lot of people avoid doing the extra work around running a full cash and accrual, going to the full story with looking at accrual-based accounting. It's easy. And so often in good times, money's coming in, you can see the bank account filling up and money goes out the door. But anything comes through that's going to be a change, whether it's a tough time due to pandemic or economic change, whether it's, hey, you're looking to grow. And it can be a great business that's looking to grow that doesn't manage its cash flow, that hits a wall. So if we take a product-based business, right? I sell online, I sell in my store. We've got great customer service. That's what we're passionate about. We sell supplies. And I'm also looking to go to some really big trade shows this year, which are going to require me to really lift the amount of stock I have on hand to be able to attend those. So as you're going through doing your normal business, things are going well, the cash is going in, you're paying your suppliers, but then you have to start really lifting your stock investment, to get to these shows. So cash is looking fine in the bank. I've put some mega orders in with my suppliers to make sure I've got stock to turn up to these trade shows with. I think I'm fine. Anyway, we turn up to the first trade show, we have a great time. But of course, we've stocked up for the next 2 trade shows on inventory. And all of a sudden I come away, big chunk of money hits the bank account, but I notice that it's not enough to cover all of the stock we've bought for the next 2 trade shows. And suddenly we hit this pinch. Suddenly I'm struggling to think about how I make my wages next week. That frustrates one of my top employees who in this hot employment market decides to take off. Now I'm in trouble. Then another opportunity for a great event comes up, but I've got no money and I've got all my supplier limits for buying stock to their max. And all of a sudden I'm in a crunch where I'm starting to go, I can't now stock the physical store because I've had to get ready for the inventory, and the types of products and services for each of these events are slightly different. And so I have a great business, but I can't get the product in the door, and I've lost my staff. So again, sometimes if you think about cash in and cash out, it's a great sort of leading indicator. But often you get hit the face in the moment, because when that scenario plays out, it's often too late. And so cash flow starts to let you plan out those future scenarios earlier when you're running both. If you're not going to really see it until that moment hits. And then it's like, oh no, what am I going to do? Sorry, I nearly said something and nearly said swear word there, but yeah, you can have an oh moment. Yeah.
Great. Well, there you have it. I want to thank you again for taking out the time. This was really informative, and hopefully everyone will be managing their cash flow now.
Make sure you don't have to be on your own. Look for help. There's lots of people out there that want to help you get started. Thanks, Donna.